Hey y'all, it's Dime. So this is gonna be my first full-length YouTube video. I'm really excited. I have been wanting to start a YouTube channel, honestly, for like years now. When I made my TikTok page and that started doing fairly well, it kind of like gave me the encouragement that I needed to finally start making YouTube videos. I have always been interested in like more of a long form content creation, especially because my interests in particular are related to like body modification, tattooing specifically, and I knew that the types of videos that I would be making weren't videos that I felt were very well suited to TikTok. I decided to start navigating toward YouTube as a platform instead. So welcome. Initially, when I started doing my filming for this, I planned on like talking through the process while I was actively traveling. However, when I arrived in the UK, everything was kind of happening really fast. It was go, go, go. I was finding that I was really having difficulty fitting in time to film. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get as much footage as I can of the trip, and then I'm just gonna talk about my experience when I get back. Get a drink, sit down, we're gonna yap for a little bit. You can go back and watch my original video. I initially filmed it for TikTok, but I have re-uploaded it onto my YouTube channel, so that's essentially like a part one to this vlog. But I'm also going to do a bit of a recap in this video. Spring of last year, Lawson came to the United States and was able to tattoo here, and I started my shin and knee piece with her. Our goal was to finish the entire tattoo in one sitting. It's a piece based off of the book Watership Down by Richard Adams. The main reason that I wanted to get that tattoo is because Watership Down was one of my grandmother's favorite books growing up. She really loved it, and I didn't read the book as a kid, but I watched the cartoon, the like 70s hand-drawn cartoon, and I love like any of that older cartoon animation style. I'm such a big fan. It's very like dark and real and raw, and it's just really cool. I always wanted to read the book, and so I set a goal for myself to read the book before I got the tattoo done, and I accomplished it. I actually did end up reading through the book. One of the best books I've read, maybe ever actually. Insert a photo of me when I reached the end, ugly crying. I have like some of the worst pictures of me that exist, but you know, I decided I really wanted to get a tattoo from it. As far as like pain goes and understanding my pain tolerance and what I can handle, what I can't handle, that kind of thing, I knew that I could sit for anywhere between 4 to 6 hours. The longest I've ever sat was 6.5 hours, but by the end of that 6.5 hours, I knew that I never wanted to sit for 6.5 hours ever again. I was like, no, that's enough for me. Yum, 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 tastes good. I'm full. My goal was to finish all of the color in the head of the rabbit as well as all of the color in the sun, which is all around my knee. I decided I wanted to get a second tattoo from Lawson Tats. If I was already going to be flying across seas to go to the UK, then I might as well get as many tattoos as I can while I'm there. I really like her style. It's neo-traditional, which is my favorite, hands down. I really liked how she does frogs. And initially I had the idea that I wanted to get like a frog and like maybe like lily pads on my foot. I thought that would be really cute. And then after thinking about it for more than like 2 seconds, I'd be taking a like 9-hour flight to England, running around, coming back. I couldn't handle having my foot blasted and then also having my knee and leg blasted. Like I wouldn't be functional, like I wouldn't have been able to move. I decided to switch to somewhere that I knew would be a little bit easier to get done and easier to function with afterward. So I chose my armpit. For me personally, the armpit wasn't one of my worst tattoos as far as pain goes, honestly. I remember at the time that I got my first armpit done thinking that my ditches were both worse than my armpit. My ribs are still to this day the worst placement I have ever had tattooed, period, hands down. I don't foresee anything being able to compare to the pain of getting my ribs tattooed for a long time. And the day that it does is maybe the day I stopped getting tattooed, because it was truly the worst experience. The armpit was actually much more manageable. I knew the healing for it is not quite as cute and fun, but my goal was to complete my leg and start my armpit. And I figured if I was just doing line work, that I would be able to sit through the line work. I am really fortunate, and I have family that lives in Essex and London. And since her shop was in Birmingham, which is like 2 hours north of London, I was like, oh, this is perfect. If I'm able to go visit my family, I can kill two birds with one stone, essentially. I can go visit my family, spend time with them there, and then I can also go up to Birmingham and get my tattoo finished. Lo and behold, I got a call from my aunt, and it was her 60th birthday party. She wanted all of us cousins and like all of her family present for the party, and so I was like, this is actually perfect. The timing of this is incredible. It would be around a year after I started my tattoo anyway, like boom, boom, boom. Let's do it. I'm really excited. Today is the day that we leave for the UK. Really fortunate that our flight doesn't leave until the afternoon, so I had a lot of time to be able to like pack and get everything ready yesterday. I was able to like do some more cleaning and packing and stuff today. So we have to drive to Newark, and then our flight takes off from Newark and it's just a direct flight. So no stops, which is brilliant. I'm really excited about that. I just have to say goodbye to my little birdie because I'm not gonna see her for 10 days. Hi, Miss Cherry. All right. Love you, Munchkin. Next time I see you, I'm gonna have one new tattoo and one finished tattoo. Huh, Miss Cherry? Yeah, that's right. That's my gal. The hotel that we stayed in was in one location, and then the venue was in another location, and my aunt, whose party it was, lives in Essex, but the hotel was in London. So she had to come in and stay at our hotel, so it ended up being like me and all of my family in one hotel together, but then we'd have to travel to the venue. There was so much to keep track of. There was so much going on. We did the party. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was so much fun. I was so exhausted. My family's Nigerian. Nigerians, if you're not familiar, they know how to party. They love to party. And like trying to keep up. I'm only 30, and when I tell you it was whooping me. It was whooping me. I was tired. From the moment our feet hit the ground, we were doing something. We were visiting someone, we were having a dinner somewhere, we were prepping for the party, we were doing something. Like there was always something going on. That was day one with my family. The next day when I woke up, I ran into sort of a new issue. I have never experienced any kind of like food allergy. I've never experienced any kind of allergies to makeup or products or anything like that. As far as I knew, no allergies. Well, I was wrong. I woke up the next day and I remember looking in the mirror and thinking like, damn, I look a little rough. And I, of course, just thought it was because of the party. But then as the day went on, I kept getting more and more swollen and more puffy and more red. And it turned out that I was fully having an allergic reaction. Something I didn't know about England is like how incredibly difficult it is to get any kind of medication. Like it's so hard to get medication there without having like seen a doctor, gotten a prescription. Over the counter stuff is like almost non-existent there, which is crazy. Fortunately, my sister had packed Benadryl with her, so I ended up taking Benadryl. I don't think I've ever taken Benadryl before, but I was popping bennies. My sister was like, slow down, you're gonna see the hat man, like you need to stop. Mind you too, this is like the day before I have to leave to get started on my tattoo. We ended up getting a train from London to get to Birmingham. Once we got to Birmingham, we got to our new little hotel. Our hotel room was about this big by this big. It was very cheap, which is awesome, but it was also very small. And for the first day that we were in Birmingham, there was 3 of us sharing a little 2-bed, tiny little closet of a hotel room. Eventually, my youngest sister did go back, so then it ended up just being me and my middle sister in there, but it was still pretty cramped. Unpacked everything, got everything ready, and the next morning, I was supposed to get my knee tattoo. At this point, I was still having an allergic reaction. I felt so horrible. I was so bummed because I'm like, it's my first time filming a YouTube video. It's my first time filming a vlog. I'm so excited. I want to put my best foot forward. And here I am, itchy, swollen, awful. When we did finally get to the shop, Alex, my savior, my angel, she happened to have a steroid cream on her that she like gave to me and was just like, use this, see how it works, blah, blah, blah. I put it on over my eyes, and literally same day in the shop, within like a couple hours, redness had gone down. Swelling had gone down. I was starting to feel so much better. I was so grateful. First impression of the shop. So fun, so cute. Tattoo shops are truly my happy place. I love being in them. I love seeing all of the different decor and all the different art. They just feel like such a beautiful reflection of all of the people that work there, and this shop was no exception by any means. It was exactly what I expected, but also it was fun and new and cute and quirky as all the things that you want out of a tattoo shop. Really comfortable environment. After meeting everybody in the shop, I was like, damn, I gotta come back here and I'm gonna have to get like 1 tattoo from each artist in the shop. Everybody was so kind and so sweet. And the next day we started the tattoo. I decided to use numbing cream. I had already paid my deposit for both pieces at that point. I had bought the tickets, I paid for the hotel, so like there wasn't a lot of wiggle room. This was technically my second time using numbing cream. The first time that I used numbing cream was kind of actually for a similar reason. It was when Alex came the first time to the States and I started my leg. I was trying to get it all done in one sitting so I could avoid having to make it a 2-part tattoo and pay for the travel and all of the expenses that would come with traveling, if I could manage to sit through it and get it all done in one session. In the United States, the FDA approves of, I think, like no more than 4% lidocaine in your numbing creams. Technically, I don't think you're supposed to use them on tattoos. When you purchase numbing cream in stores in the United States, you can't find anything that's more than like a 4% lidocaine. When I used the numbing cream the first time on my leg, I prepped the area. I had already like exfoliated, cleaned the whole area, put my numbing cream all over. I did wrap it, which I think technically you're not, according to like FDA protocols, you're not supposed to do. According to literally everyone in the industry who has ever numbed themselves for a tattoo, that's kind of what you do. So I did that. When I tell you that didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't numb. It didn't. Not, I felt everything. I felt everything. Drastic difference from using the numbing cream the second time. The cream that I ended up using, it is a 10% lidocaine, right? So massive difference. It was wild actually to see the difference. I couldn't feel anything. It was crazy. I'd never experienced that before. It was very, very weird to like have my like leg propped up on the table and have my artist like looking at me like, you good? You feel good? Like checking in and stuff. I'm watching the needle going into my skin and I just feel nothing. I had apparently like numbed the center of my knee. That's where I focused all of it the most. And so that was the area that I couldn't feel anything. Once you got around to the edges, that's where I had apparently put less cream. So I was able to feel that a lot more. As she bit. I was able to feel everything on my shin because I did not put any numbing cream on that. And we did end up doing a lot of like detail work in there. We added a lot of little fine hairs into the rabbit, added some highlights, that kind of thing. But as far as the knee itself goes, I really didn't feel that much. I felt pressure and the sensation of like buzzing, but no pain. It allowed me to be able to sit and get the entire thing finished. It's very weird to sit and be being tattooed actively, especially when you're used to being tattooed without the numbing cream. All of the things that your body feels and all of the way that your body is reacting makes sense because you can feel the pain happening as it is happening to you. It makes sense that you feel tired after 2-3 hours of tattooing because you've been in pain for 2 to 3 hours. When you don't feel that initial pain, that sensation, it's very odd to just be kind of like sitting there, receiving your tattoo, knowing that essentially this trauma is happening to your body, not being able to feel it, but then suddenly having it catch up to you. I was sitting there fine, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm low energy. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm hungry. Like all these things that are normal to feel during a tattoo, but they almost feel unexpected because of the pain element that was missing, even though I went into it knowing that I was doing that to myself. But so we finished up the tattoo. We didn't initially go in with saniderm. Instead, Alex had puppy pads, like the training pads. Actually, I think I have one of them. This is the leftover chunk of puppy pad that I used. I took with me actually for when I did my armpit, but this is essentially what we did, is we just like put the pad on, taped it around my leg, and it was so that it could absorb any of the delicious soup that my leg was seeping from it. We went back to the hotel and I changed my outfit. I had to like wash my leg, make sure it was clean, put my saniderm on. I knew that I didn't have all of the things that I would need to be able to like keep it as clean as possible to like prevent any kind of like infection or any kind of contaminant getting onto my tattoos. So I made the decision to leave my saniderm on for as long as possible just to try and be safe. We went and got food. We went into this like cute little like flea market-y type thing. Surprisingly, my knee felt okay while I was running around. I did start getting pretty tired. I felt myself starting to crash a little bit. We went to like one more mall and then we called it quits for the night and we walked back. So that was the first night. Then the next day we went back to London and that was when we took my youngest sister back. So we took her to the London Heathrow Airport, stayed in London, ran around. Knee was still hurting, but still mostly doing okay. Took a bus from London back, which by the way, way better. It takes about the same amount of time as the train. It was easier to navigate than the train. I had to switch from one train to another train, which doing that while holding like bags and bags and bags of things, not so easy. Whereas the bus was just like one way, it was straight. It was also worlds cheaper. I think it was like 20 pounds for the two of us to take the bus. The train was like 170 something pounds, which is crazy. We went back, went to bed. The next day, my sister got her tattoo. So she got her little chin banger done. Started her back piece with Alex, both fantastic. They look really, really good. We went to this like Asian food court that had like a bunch of different ethnicities of like Asian food. There was just so many different options that were all so, oh my God, it was so good. Day 4 was the day that I went back in to start my second tattoo, which was my armpit tattoo. That one was the one that I did with Lauren. Really, really good experience, very fun. I was the only person on her schedule for the day, so we like hung out all day. It was fantastic. We like got drinks, ate breakfast, chilled, had a very nice slow setup to the day. Alex eventually came by the shops and then she was there and we were all hanging out too. It was very sweet. Eventually a couple more of the artists came in and so we were all like yapping and hanging out. Very cool. I had also numbed my armpit. I wanted to make sure that I was actually going to be able to sit through everything. I didn't want to fly back with like half of a tattoo started or finished. So I was like, you know what? Full send. We're gonna use numbing cream for everything this round. When I put my numbing cream on, I focused it on, I wonder if I can even get it. You can kind of see it. A little bit, little baby. But I focused it on doing mostly at the center and then like up above. And I tried to get it down low. I think I didn't quite get it low enough because by the time it got down here, it was a little spicy. By the time it was up high enough, it was a little spicy. So I didn't quite spread it as far as I think I probably could have. Even the areas that I did feel, I could tell that I was taking the edge off of it, and the center I didn't feel at all. It made sitting through the tattoo really, really easy. I was for sure tired by the end of it, had that like tattoo sleepiness or whatever. Yeah, overall it was pretty good. The one thing about armpit tattoos that you have to kind of mentally prepare for is the fact that once your tattoo is finished, you can't really saniderm it. You also can't use deodorant. So you're gonna be sweaty, you're gonna be stinky, you're not gonna be able to wrap it up very easily, which means you're gonna have to be able to make sure that you can care for it really well, make sure that you're exposed to as minimal possible contaminants as you can, which was going to be really hard for me because quite literally I got my armpit tattooed and then the next day I flew out. By the time my armpit was done, I was running truly on FOMO and like the excitement of being in a new place with friends. We did end up doing some more running around. We went to the grocery store, probably spent like 80 pounds on just like junk food to bring home to like friends and family. And we went back to the hotel, packed up all our stuff, got ready to go. That flight back to the States was a little bit rough, I'm not gonna lie. At this point, my leg was still sanidermed. I was very uncomfortable. I had a limp. It was really difficult for me to walk. My armpit was also quite uncomfortable. It was pretty swollen. I couldn't reach up very high. Anything that would cause like rubbing was difficult. My saving grace was the fact that the plane was like really empty. So not only was I able to sit in a row with my sister, like I just asked them because I noticed the plane was empty. So by the time we were like ready to take off, I was like, can I just like sit next to her? And they were like, oh yeah, no problem. I was like, that's slay. But then also I realized that several of the rows behind us were empty. So I was just like, I'm just taking up one of these rows by myself. If it would have been like a jam-packed flight and I would have been flying home with 2 brand new tattoos that I was healing, I would have been really, really uncomfortable and in probably a decent amount of pain. I was still uncomfortable and it was still pretty painful, especially to like bump or touch either of my tattoos. Having the ability to like stretch out, put my leg out if I needed, find different positions that were more comfortable for me was massive. It was so helpful. We flew in, we got back to the States. It was nighttime when we arrived. I still had to drive back into Philly. That was a long drive after a long flight. By the time we got back to Philly, the only thing that I could think about was how badly I wanted to get my saniderm off. Like I was sick of having my saniderm on, and I think I was on day 5. The longest that I've ever left saniderm on before was usually like a day or 2 max. Like I've never left it on more than that. When you put the saniderm on, you know how it gets like a little ink sac. As soon as I get the ink sac, that's typically when I will take it off. One, because it's just like kind of uncomfortable. I don't really like to wear it for very long anyway, but also because, pro tip, it comes off more easily when there's an ink sac. Unfortunately, I was not able to do that because I had to leave mine on for multiple days at a time. I go into the shower, still limping, I'm still uncomfortable, and I go to remove my saniderm. When I tell you, I felt my soul leave my body. Instant tears, so painful. Essentially, like my ink sac had filled and then depleted and gone down, so the saniderm had like fully stuck to me, as stuck as it could get. I was trying to be careful, I was trying to do it slow, I was using proper technique to remove it, I was in the shower under the water, it didn't matter. I have never, ever, ever experienced a saniderm removal that was that painful ever before in my life. Genuinely, I will never leave saniderm on that long ever again. I was so raw. I was just like a walking just raw meat corpse. It kept bringing me to tears. Like taking the saniderm off brought me to tears, but then when I was like, oh, I have to wash it, sobbed through watching it. Oh, I have to lotion it. Sobbed through lotioning it. Went up, crashed, went to bed. Next day, when I tell you I was beat up, I was able to finally like assess and see just how bad everything was. My knee was super bruised all around the edge, so swollen. There was definitely some parts of the tattoo that were really, really raw that in the following day or two, I was starting to get concerned they wouldn't get better. I remember literally looking up examples of tattoo infection because I was like, oh, damn, I might have my first tattoo infection. My armpit was also super bruised, like particularly in the center of my armpit. I had some bruising in there, which was really weird because I went from having never ever had a bruise around any of my tattoos before to both in one session getting pretty banged up and pretty bruised. In hindsight, I think that it was the numbing cream. When you're getting tattooed, especially once you become experienced with getting tattooed, you start to get really familiar with what tattoo pain feels like. If the artist is being really gentle or if the artist is being really rough with your skin. And all of those things also determine how you then engage with your tattoo artist throughout your tattoo appointment. And it also lets you advocate for yourself too. If you feel like you are in an amount of pain that is an unnormal, unnecessary amount of pain, you can walk away from that amount of pain, or you can request changes with your artist to make your experience better. And also inevitably make your healing experience better as well. So that was like a huge unexpected part of using numbing cream for me, is that I didn't realize that I wasn't able to interact with my artists in the way that I probably would have had I not used the numbing cream. I would have maybe been able to feel when areas were getting more sensitive and that I needed like a break from, or needed to just like not be tattooed in that area anymore. So I did have a couple spots that got pretty raw, and I honestly think that that's probably the reason why. That's the only thing I can think of anyway. And the only thing that could have happened is that I wasn't able to speak up for myself because I was using this thing that was inhibiting me from feeling fully, which is interesting. So now I feel like I can actually form an opinion on like numbing cream. And my opinion is this: I think there's lots of reasons why someone might use it, and I think there's a lot of valid reasons why someone might use it. In my situation, I used it because I was going to be moving a lot, which meant that I wasn't going to be able to heal it as well as I would have if I was getting tattooed in my home state, home city, whatever, and was able to just go home and rest fully. I knew I wouldn't be able to do that on this trip, so I needed something to take the edge off. But also, I think that it definitely did affect my healing. It definitely did affect getting tattooed and my ability to recognize what was being maybe worked too much versus what was normal and what was fine. And I think that if you are someone who regularly gets tattooed and is very familiar with it and is familiar with your body and how you react to tattoos, numbing cream, go for it. Of course, obviously check with your artist first, because I know that some artists have different opinions on that. Some artists do not want you to use numbing cream, and in that case you need to respect your artist's wishes. However, generally, I don't think there's anything wrong with using it. If you are not somebody who has been tattooed before, or you have not been tattooed very much, if you're getting your first big tattoo, or you're getting your first tattoo at all, that kind of thing, I really highly recommend that you don't use numbing cream. In my opinion, I think it's really important for you to have that base familiarity with being tattooed, what should feel bad and to what extent, so that you can have an understanding of what is normal and what is not normal and be able to advocate for yourself. Because at the end of the day, I think that that is like the most important thing, is the ability to advocate for yourself while getting tattooed. So it's been like a full week since I got back from the UK. I feel so much better than I did when I first got tattooed. When I first got back, after I got my saniderm off, after I was able to start like lotioning my leg, and I got past the initial swelling, the initial pain, the swelling in my knee did start to go down, the redness started to go down, the bruising started to go away. I do still currently have a couple of spots that have scab that I'm just being really, really gentle with, being really careful with. I'm still putting on just like a basic lotion, unscented, something pretty light, just to keep everything moisturized while it heals. But I can tap it, I can bump it, I can brush it, and it mostly feels good. I can put weight on it, I can walk, I can go up and down stairs again. All of these were things that I wasn't able to do for a while, so I'm like really glad for that. My armpit, she's a beast. She's a beast. She's been doing good for a while. I think it was a really good decision on my part to just do the line work for this trip. I think that if I would have tried to do anything more than just the line work, that I would have been really miserable. I think that that would have been enough to push me over the edge. Would have made the travel indescribably painful, I think, and it would have made the healing really rough. I think it would have just been too much. So I'm really glad that I had the forethought to recognize my limits and that I would only be able to do the full color on one part, line work on the other. So that was a good decision, I think. Something that did happen to me was my immune system crashed when I got back. Tanked. I got super duper sick. My test came back negative for COVID, but I was still just I was so sick. It was all up here. It was all in my sinuses. I had like runny nose, sneezing. Eventually I had a cough. It didn't start out with a cough, but I did eventually get a cough that lasted for at least a couple of days. Eventually my sickness subsided. The jet lag subsided. Now, yeah, it's been like a full week since I got back and I feel amazing. I feel so much better. Honestly, one of the only things I can think about is when I get to go back. I know that I want to get another tattoo by Alex for sure. I know that I obviously have to get my armpit finished with Lauren. Really looking forward to that. I think that I'll probably try to go sometime next year. I think I'll be able to just do like round 2 of this, which is really exciting. When I like think about my experience and when I'm reflecting on my experience, I feel like I really learned a lot. I feel like there's a lot of things that I now know that I can do or that I wouldn't do again. For example, I want to make sure that any of the like fun time running around that I'm doing, I do all of that before I get tattooed, or I get tattooed immediately after arriving and give myself like substantial time to heal. Like give myself a few days to heal before I have to then do my running around. That is the one takeaway that I had. If you plan on traveling to get tattooed, I would highly recommend that you actively book time for rest, time for healing. I really wish I would have done that. Even if I just had like a hotel day for like a day or 2 after getting tattooed to just like sit and watch movies or something like that, which is obviously significantly less exciting and less fun than running around England, but it's kind of what you sacrifice when you're getting tattooed. Overall, it was a really great experience and it was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot and I hope that you enjoyed sitting with me and yapping with me for my first ever long form YouTube video. More to come. I look forward to seeing you next month and thanks for hanging. Bye.